Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy Dweck, and I'd like to welcome you to our virtual trip to Rome. Federation missions are like none other, filled with new friends, exciting locations, and a chance to visit with Jewish communities around the world. We look forward to being able to travel together in the future, but in the meantime, I'd like to thank Guild Travel for the chance to travel in a new way. Being together today helps us stay connected to one another here in Boca Raton and with our Jewish community abroad. We are looking forward to you joining us today as we learn about Rome through a Jewish lens. I would like to thank our corporate sponsors, H.J. Sims, Hotwire, Fission, and Boca Magazine for supporting this tour today. The generosity of our corporate partners allow the Federation to host programs like this and others. Before we get started on our tour, there are a few housekeeping notes to go over. Your microphone will be muted throughout the program. If you have a question for our guide, please type it into the chat box, and I will ask Michaela at the conclusion of the tour. For those of you a little less familiar with Zoom, you can adjust the way your screen appears. Our recommendation is to select Speaker View, which will highlight the person speaking. You will find this at the top of the Zoom screen. Before our tour begins, I would like to take a moment to share the continuous ways our Jewish Federation of South Palm Beach County is meeting the rising needs of our community. As you may know, Federation takes care of our people from right down here across the street to throughout the world. Through the annual campaign, our Federation raises and allocates funds to its partner agencies to provide critical assistance to those in need. Today is not a fundraising event, but a gift of any size is very much needed and greatly appreciated. Now more than ever, our local and global Jewish community are depending on us. Here are just some of the ways you can help our Jewish family near and far face unprecedented challenges in the face of COVID-19. You keep our frail elderly, unable to go safely out, secure and comforted with full, nutritious meals at home. You provide families facing income loss and overwhelming stress with emergency financial help and mental health services. You support innovation so our JCCs, camps, synagogues, day schools, youth groups, and Hillels remain vital centers of Jewish life. We combat anti-Semitism across the globe. We support Israel amid increasing calls for boycotts and delegitimization, and we respond to natural disasters. Please help us to continue meeting these needs and make your gift today. Together, we will thrive through these challenging times and build a more resilient future. So now, through the magic of Zoom, I'd like to welcome you to Rome. Let's join our guide, Michaela, live in Rome. Michaela was born in Rome to a Jewish Roman father and a Libyan Jewish Sephardic mother. Michaela has lived in Rome her entire life, with the exception of 1 year in Argentina and another in Israel. Michaela studied art history at Rome's university, and throughout her time as a guide, she has come to realize how miraculous the existence of the Jewish community of Rome really is. Michaela, take it away.
Grazie, Amy. Thank you so much for being with me in this November rainy Rome, but thanks God it's not raining.
Thank goodness.
As you can see, yeah, I'm so happy. But anyway, I assure you we are in Rome, even though I carried with me Queen Elizabeth's umbrella, and I will start my tale, adventurous tale, I would say, about the Roman Jews, because that's the most ancient Jewish community outside of Israel. The Jews came to Rome in 139 BCE, and I decided to start this nice tour from this bridge, which it's called the Bridge of the Jews, because in the Middle Ages, after settling Rome, Jews were living in Trastevere, which is on the other side of this bridge. That's Trastevere, and that's why it's called Trastevere, because it means Tiber, on the other side of the Tiber. And so as Jews were foreigners, were right in Rome even before Christ was born, they had to settle in Trastevere, which was the area for foreigners, for thieves, for criminals, for low people. And the center of Rome was on the other side. So we're now getting into the center of Rome, of the center of the ancient Rome, by crossing the bridge that was called the Bridge of the Jews, Pons Judeorum. The Bridge of the Jews, because Jews had, we have always lived near water, because our business has always been related to the schmatte. Still today, we're still in the schmatte business. We're not doctors or lawyers in Rome. As a matter of fact, when I told my mother, who owned a shop of clothes, that I was going to college, she freaked out. She didn't want me to go to college. She was afraid I would never get married. She was right. I got married very late. But finally, I did. And so we're going to go inside the Jewish ghetto now. And what you should know is that in Rome, the Jews have always lived quite nicely until Christianity became official. Then in 313, when Constantine declared Christianity the only official religion of the empire, some problems started. Because, Christians had as a mitzvah converting others. And they needed to discredit Judaism to push the early Christianity. So that's the first time you hear the Jews poison the wells. They make the matzah with the blood of the Christian kids. Not to mention the accuse of Jews killing Christ. And so from the Middle Ages, it was very quick to get to the ghetto times. 1555, it's when the Pope, Paul IV, decided the Jews had to live in a locked area with the natural border made by the river. And trust me, in 1555, there were no embankments. Today, you've got the embankments protecting the city from flood. But during the whole ghetto era, our homes were down the edge of the water. And every single winter with the rains, the river would flood and you will see horrible scenes. But that's why this area was chosen. And every time we need to find the borders of the ghetto that was completely demolished in 1870, we just have to look at churches. Now we know Rome is a city of churches, but you should know that there are more churches than people going to church. But the amount of churches that surround this 4 blocks area, it's not a coincidence. Look at this one. Crucifixion, just in case we forget. And then we got the Hebrew. Can you see a Hebrew text? Move your head if you can see, or I'll get it closer. Okay, it's a Hebrew text translated in Latin with words from Isaiah, Ishayahu, our prophet. It says, I've opened my arms to these stubborn people who don't want to understand. They took a wrong path. So they use my prophet against me. Isn't that sophisticated? It's not just burning people alive in a square. It's trying to brainwash them slowly with time, because there's plenty of time to convince them and there's no rush. So when the Pope in 1555, his name was Paul IV, decided that it was absurd and inconvenient that Jews and Christians were still living together after what the Jews had done to Christ, he decided not to kill them, but to give them such a hard time that they would choose to give up and save their souls. And how do you save a Jew? Do you know, Tova, how you save a Jew? Yeah, you save a Jew through baptism. And that's why there are so many churches, because Jews were obliged to go and listen to the Holy Mass inside churches. And you know what they would do? They would put wax in their ears not to hear anything, which is almost what we do today in the synagogue. But don't tell the chief rabbi. And so we'll go inside the ghetto. Now the area completely changed. Oh, look at this. This is something unique. You don't see them so often around. That's a Cinquecento. Do you remember? It's a Fiat Cinquecento. It's a very famous car from the 50s and 60s when there was the economical boom and every Italian family wanted to buy a car. And well, that's something else. Okay, so we're entering in the ghetto. Now the area looks very charming and very trendy. It went through a process of gentrification. And now living here, Costa's living in Park Avenue. Of course, there are new buildings built in 1911 with Art Nouveau frescoes on their facades. there is this magnificent synagogue that you see around me. It's called the Tempio Maggiore. It's the great synagogue of Rome. It was built between 1901 and 1904 with the only money of the 9,000 Jews that were living in Rome at that time. People who gave 1 lira and people who gave 10,000 liras. After 3 centuries in a ghetto, Jews wanted to outstand their emancipation. And that's why we built our synagogue right here in this horrible place where we had been living in humiliation and sorrow for 3 centuries. And now we have our Jewish quarter. And when you come to visit Rome, you're not visiting a Jewish dead community where everything is kosher style, Jewish style. Here it's kosher with Teuda. Here it's Jewish and vibrant and thriving. We have a Jewish day school. And if we don't get too late, I'll get you to see at least my children. Other children I can't, but my children, you might be able to see them getting out from the Jewish school. This is, how nice, it's so empty, it's just for me. This is the square. You have to imagine a labyrinth of narrow streets starting from this building behind me, this line of building behind of me. That ruin, that Roman ruin was the main entrance to the ghetto. The Pope decided, let me take you there. The Pope decided that he needed an area that was disgusting enough, stinky enough, familiar enough to host the Jews. And so he thought that this would be perfect. This ruin, this Roman ruin that you see in front of me, it's called the Portico di Ottavia, the porch of Octavia. Octavia was Augustus the emperor's sister, and she was, an imperial lady. And at that time, it was very common to build things for the city of Rome and to keep the population quiet, I would say. They used to say bread and games. We say football and spaghetti. Nothing changed. And so here you see the Portico d'Ottavia. Thank you very much, Brian, in an overlap of when it was the main entrance to the ghetto. Amazing that we can see both together, and you can see how things changed, because you see now the Portico d'Ottavia has a big block, which is this one on your left, that was built in 1911, while the buildings to the right are all originals from the ghetto times, with buildings that go from 12th to 17th century. So today people come to the area to eat the fried artichokes and they go like, but why do Jews complain? This is so beautiful. But this has nothing to do with what it used to be when it was a ghetto. As I said, today we went through a gentrification process, and living in the middle of the ruins, it's now super trendy. But you have to imagine that until a few years ago, this was a very sad area. The war also made it even more sad. We'll talk about that. And so basically the Pope chose this area because it became a fish market during the Middle Ages. And so, it was pretty disgusting to live here. And so it was just perfect for the Jews. And so here you can see how the Pope decided to use it as the main entrance with gates, iron bars, locked in the morning, open in the morning at sunlight and close at sunset. So Jews could even go out. But would you ladies go out if you had to wear the same sign of the prostitute? I don't think so. Men had to wear a funny, ridiculous yellow hat with a horn in the middle and bells all around. Mock me, I'm Jewish, if it was not clear. And among the rules to obey, Jews could not incriminate Christians in any way. Basically, the rules of the ghetto were meant to push the Jews out in one of the many churches that surround this area. Remember, churches are in every border, like a neon sign, join us, join us. And so this church here, together with this next one, and the other one behind the arch, they were meant to convert Jews. But you know what I like to say? There is a paradox, in my modest opinion. The ghetto somehow preserved our identity. Wherever there has been wealthiness and freedom, somehow it led to assimilation. While we, for 2,000 years, had always somebody reminding us that we were wrong, that we had to change, that we would go to hell. and so on. And so we preserved our traditions more than the halacha, honestly. You know, we are Orthodox. So I know it's hard to believe, but I'm Orthodox. But the real definition of the Roman Jews is the following. We are Orthodox in structure, conservative in philosophy, Reform in behavior, and Catholic in religion. And of course, it's a joke, but it's really fitting because we are a community that has been surrounded for 2,000 years by non-Jews who only wanted to convert us, who only would tell us that we were wrong, that we had to change. So we gave a lot of tradition to the city of Rome, but we also assimilated some traditions from them. Something unique that I consider, by the way, this is Marcello's theater, where Marcello was Octavia's son, so the nephew of the emperor. And by the way, the word nepotism comes from there, from the nephew, not of the emperor, but of the pope, who could not technically have children. And so he would use his children and he would call them nephews. Behind me, there's also the Capitoline Hill. Those trees at my back, those are the trees of the Capitoline Hill, which is the hill where the city of Rome was founded by Romolo and Remo, if they ever existed. So now I'm going to take you inside the area again, and a little peek to the great synagogue dome, which is the only square dome in town. It's the only one that you can tell belongs to the synagogue. It was built in 1901. I will go slow so you will not get dizzy by the San Pietrini. You see the stones? These are called San Pietrini. And Roman women have to forget about wearing heels. Florence Hammer has a question, or you just wanted to say hi? I can answer question now because I have a little path to walk. So that's a good timing. Amy, anybody who wants to ask a question? Tova?
Any questions? Anybody? This is a great time.
If you could please enter all your questions in the chat, we'll be able to get to them later.
It's magnificent. Imagine, it's been built in 4 years by the ancient Roman, and it took the modern Romans 20 years to restore it. That's called the Italian efficiency. And this square that I am pointing now is the square where the Nazi parked their truck the morning of 16 October 1943. If we'll have time, of course, we will cover the Shoah, and we'll cover the rise of fascism, the racial law, and the deportations. For the moment, I want you to enjoy what is, you should know that every building of old Rome, it's now in restoration because the government is paying great money if you remake the facade of your home. And so now all Rome is full of covers, as you can see. Imagine that this building behind the scaffold here, it's a building 1274 that includes the arch. Can you see the arch? The arch is part of the building. And the family that used to live here, it's a Jewish family who was so poor that when the ghetto was open, even if they had a chance to go and live somewhere else, they could not afford going live anywhere else. And so they bought this ruin. And now this ruin, it's worth 2.5 million euros, and it's only 600 square feet. That's the gentrification. And
Michaela,
yes?
excuse me. Do you want to talk about discrimination or anti-Semitism now, or save that until the end?
Well, I can do it now while I'm walking to where I want to go. Why not?
What is the situation now?
Listen, I feel it's just a question of a lot of ignorance. I went to Jewish school. You should know, first of all, that Roman Jews today are 15,000. And they all belong to the same Orthodox community. We don't have congregations, so we are all united by, we have 15 synagogues, but you can go to anyone you like. And we have a Jewish school, so we are present in the city. Even though we are 15,000, if you ask anybody how many Jews in Rome, people always reply, a couple of millions. Look at this, that's a nice view.
Those artichokes.
These are
look
just
beautiful.
waiting to be fried. And so anti-Semitism, we don't have a huge, no, I wouldn't say that. It's just a question of ignorance. I went to Jewish school, then I went to public high school. And whenever I was saying I'm Jewish, do you know what was the question I would get more frequently? And how do you speak Italian so well? So people just perceive, has no clue. And in this months of pandemic, I have had a chance to meet a lot of Italian people on my tours, which are generally never targeted to Italians. I don't even have my website translated in Italian. There's somebody's microphone on, and just get it on my ears. If you can please switch it off. Thank you so much. And so and then I realized that people are just not scared, but they're embarrassed. They feel awkward. They don't know nothing and they don't want to ask. But sometimes the usual prejudice that you hear, it's flipped on the other side. Now we're all intelligent. Now we're all smart. Now, and I don't like that either, because we're not all intelligent and we're not all smart. I don't like generalizing. And so I think it's changed, but I still don't like the generalization. What else? We have had, at the beginning of COVID, the usual thing that the Jews were the reason why the COVID spread. The usual stupid things, fake news and complotism that you hear. But in my life, in my experience, I've always felt that I have met whenever I was sharing my identity, I've always left a drop of interest and curiosity, and it never led to bad things, but always to good things. So sometimes it's even us. We, for historical reason, we have been always very closed. And I think it's time to share our beautiful culture and to teach. Aren't we here for Tikkun Olam?
Yes, but you've never felt threatened being a Jewess?
No, not in Rome, at least. And don't forget that this is the city of Catholicism. This is the city of the Pope. So if you don't like us, so at the same time you don't like the Vatican, so you don't come to live here if you don't like us. It's hard to explain, but we don't have the Muslim population that France or England has. So we don't even have that kind of problem of anti-Israeli attitude and therefore anti-Semitism. We have the extreme left wing here that has always been pro-Palestine. So we have to explain to them sometimes that things are not really as they know. And that's the kind of things that I can face. Talking about Israel, fighting with very good friends because they have no clue. These are the kind of anti-Semitism we feel. It's an anti-Zionism that I never believed it's different from anti-Semitism, because I don't understand why people should care about what happened in Israel and then forget completely what happened in Syria, in Rwanda, or in other countries. So whenever people who have never cared of anything start criticizing Israel, that's what I make them notice, that it's very hypocritical and very anti-Jewish.
Michal, are there any Jews in position of political power now?
Well, since a month, that's the best I can say, we have a councillor of the mayor who's Jewish. That's the best we could get. I told you, Amy, that we are in the Schmata business. So it's the new generation that are studying, they're getting into different fields, and therefore probably it will be them reaching better spots. We were in politics, not much in Rome, because remember, Rome has always been a city where the Pope was the king and we were subjected to his laws. We could only practice 2 jobs, we could only build 1 synagogue, we could only get out at sunlight and come back at sunset. So in other cities like Turin, for example, Jews have always been part of the parliament, because they got the emancipation much earlier than us. So Italy has always been a mess of many different regions and the different political powers. So the situation of the Jews in Italy, it's not the same everywhere. The Jews down the Medici were super cool. They were very happy, and scholars, and Michelangelo learned in the Academy of the Medici with most of the scholars there. Pico della Mirandola, Marsilio Ficino, were studying, where the translator, one of the teachers of Michelangelo translated the Zohar, which is the basic text for Kabbalah, into Greek and Latin from ancient Aramaic. So Jewish culture was the culture, the one and only. And if you wanted to be a talented artist, an erudite, you had to study Aramaic, and you had to get in touch with Jewish scholars, with Jewish rabbanim. Rome became the center of Jewish culture in the Mediterranean. But then with the ghetto, a lot of things changed. They wanted to keep us poor and illiterate. And then when we got the emancipation, slowly we started approaching to a new life. And then eventually the racial law came, Nazi occupied Rome, we got deportation. And after the war, the priority, I guess, could not be studying.
Okay, we're going to hold questions until later because there's so much to see. We don't want to lose any time. Okay.
I just wanted to show you this building. It's one of the oldest buildings of the area. It's called the Puerto Nacho. It's gonna be dark, but I want to show you because during the ghetto times, this used to be a convent. What kind of activity a convent do you think could offer to the Jews? I'm
Michaela, we're
heard about the famous case. Okay, it was. Do you hear me now? That was too risky. Yeah. And so the convents were a place where nuns would kidnap Jewish children and brainwash them, keeping them apart from their family for 70 days. Try to convert them, telling them that their parents give up on them, and eventually convert them and raise them Christians. So that's what a convent was for. Do you know what this project? Have you ever seen these brass stones in your travels? That's a project born in 1995. It's called the Stolpersteine, and it's a project started by a German artist who found out that his father was a Nazi sympathizer. And so he thought it would be nice to make up for that by making the stones with the help of Jewish institutions, of course. And the stones revealed the names of the people who used to live in those homes before the morning of the arrest and the deportations. So at least they stopped being a number or just a cipher and get back their identity with a name. I just wanted to show you this tiny narrow street because that's a real ghetto street. All this amount of light and sun that you see, it's modern. It's from 1911. Ghetto streets were narrow like that. And you can understand why gossiping has always been a Jewish hobby. Since you like Italian food, I'm gonna just show you a new kosher pizzeria where all our kids go after school. That's all kosher. So next trip, consider that you can have a kosher meal for 25 days, every day in a different place. That's also a very famous restaurant, Renato. And this is the piazza. You see what, I cannot show you much of the school because the security will watch me and then they will get mad with me. So I'll point you on my face, so there's no risk they get mad, because for security reason, you can understand that taking the kids, it's not good. But you trust me that on my left, most of parents are waiting for the children to get out. And as I said, we call this the piazza. So we don't call the ghetto ghetto. It's the non-Jews who call it ghetto. We call it piazza, and we don't need to say which piazza it is. Now, let me show you the heart of the area. It's called Via della Reginella. I love the atmosphere. And it's exactly, Brian, can you show that picture now? Okay, you can see that it quite changed. That's the main street that gentrified. It's full of boutique art galleries, nice apartment, but it's also full of history because here and there You can see a lot of the stones. Now, I want to show you this map because this is going to help you a lot understanding what's the situation and how it changed. This is where we started on this bridge, the bridge that connects the ghetto with Trastevere, which is on the other side of the Tiber. Then I showed you the church with the Hebrew, which is right here. Then we walked this way and we stood on this bridge to see the Portico d'Ottavia and the main entrance to the ghetto. And then we went through this main street with Judaica stores and restaurant. We're now here. This is the school. I'm going to show you the Fountain of the Turtles because it's a gem of the Renaissance. And then we'll go back. I'll show you the Jewish bakery. I know it's the best part of the tour and you cannot wait for that. And then I'll show you the main facade of the Great Synagogue. So look, this building, it's 1904. This is 1911. And this is 1911, and this is 1911. Well, the ghetto lasted until 1870. And finally, this area was protected by the embankments. But please look how it used to be between 1555 until 1870. Please look at the density. Look at the buildings inside the water. The Pope meant to build this area to host 3,000 Jews. But then, you know, we got the mitzvah of multiplying. And there was no television. And so this density is because he had to host so many people. And today, it's so quiet. Imagine 100 years ago, how busy could this area be, full of stores selling schmate or frying. And now it's art galleries, antiquity shops, bed and breakfast. The frying tradition, it's a typical tradition of the Roman Jews. You know, I probably forgot to mention a very interesting thing that we are not Ashkenazim, so no gefilte fish for us, and we're not even Sephardi, because this distinction started with the destruction of the temple and the following diaspora, but we didn't go through that because we came straight from Jerusalem to Rome. And so that's why we feel so unique. And our food traditions is different. We fry a lot because when the Spanish Jews left Spain and Portugal and the south of Italy, they all moved to Rome and they brought with them the tradition of the oil and the frying. And so that's why in Rome we fried everything. And that's why the Jewish artichoke, so-called the Jewish artichokes, is so famous, because it's nothing less. Actually, it's nothing more than a veggie that was growing wild, deep fried. And when you fry, even a shoe, it's good, right? No? I wanted you to see how the area now, it's also hosting a gallery that has its job all related to the Aleph Bet. And so you can see beautiful works made in clay. And look at these doors, Blick. Look at these doors. Look at the doors. If they could talk, can you imagine how many stories they would be able to tell? And now another scaffold but I wanted to show you, let's see if I manage to show you another border of the ghetto. This building to the right, it's an aristocratic building. The building to the left, it's a ghetto building. And if there were no scaffolds in front, you would be able to understand the difference between these two buildings, because they have the same height. But to your right, you got only 3 stories. And to your left, you got 6 stories. And not because Jews are shorter, as somebody said, but because they have to be squeezing off of the size. So double number of stories for the same height. This building has also an amazing story. Can you see the door, the brown door in wood? It's too hard, but it's full of scars. And these black scars were left by the Nazis the morning of 16 October 43. And when the door, which has recently been renovated, restored, the man who restored it decided to keep the signs as an historical site of what happened here something like 80 years ago. Of course, there was an Italian Shoah. And Tova, do you think this is an issue that we should discuss about the laws, about the racial laws and Mussolini and what happened? Or shall we leave it for another time? Enjoy this for the moment. I'll take you around it. Can you feel the water? This is a masterpiece of the Renaissance. It's called the Fountain of the Turtles. As you can see, these aristocratic buildings, they are not from, they're not included in the ghetto. Look at those, wow, look at those, that ceiling over there, inside the building. This is an aristocratic palace, and it's just on the border with the ghetto. And this is the Fountain of the Turtles that apparently was made by Taddeo Landini, who's an artist from the Renaissance that made it in 1524. But then Gian Lorenzo Bernini, the famous artist, restored it and fixed the water and add the turtles. Now we wonder why somebody so busy as Bernini would waste his time for a fountain that was not even made by him. Well, apparently Bernini was a fine intellectual and he never liked the policy of the ghetto. So since the Jews could only drink the water from the river, he decided to, let's say, fix the fountain and get them a chance to drink fresh water. And then he had the turtles and not bees or dolphins, because turtles represent the Jews. They are the eldest animal known, and they carry on their back their whole family and tradition. And so that's why I generally take a picture here at the fountain with my clients when I'm live. Now you should do something, Brian. I see you're very technological. I am taking the picture now. Actually, you are taking the picture now, and then you'll add all the participants with Photoshop. Okay, Brian? Will you do that?
You got it.
Okay, good. So I'm taking, oh, in case you need, that brown building, it's a convent, you know, just in case. I remind you that a Jew converted could be free to start a new life. But you know what I think? That people would not like the idea of converting because they will not be accepted by new Christians, and they will be discarded by the Jews. So that's, I think that it really somehow it worked. Anyway, I want to tell you quickly what happened during the war, because of course many people think that Italy was spared because we were allied, because Mussolini. You should know that Mussolini got the power in 1922. And a lot of Jews became fascists because Mussolini was a socialist. And nobody was certainly expecting that Mussolini would become the doormat of Hitler. But that's what happened. In 1938, Mussolini had to align with Hitler and introduce the racial laws. Now, Hitler had prepared the Germans with 20 years of Nazi propaganda, describing us as animals that needed to be killed. But Mussolini and Italians in general, I never perceived the Jews as a different race. We were just a different fate. So Mussolini really had to invent and to make up a racial issue. And so he had to call a group of pseudo-scientists who tried to prove with scientific proofs that we were really animals. And so all of a sudden in June 38, just a few years after gaining the emancipation from 3 centuries in a ghetto, again, we became citizens of a second level. Maybe I can show you that. So we became citizens of a second level. Jewish kids were kicked out from public schools. Jewish professors had to stop teaching. Jewish doctors had to stop practicing. No intermarriage would be allowed. No Christian servant, no jobs, no property, no license, no sitting on a bench in a park, no owning a bicycle, no owning a radio. You couldn't be a member of a tennis club or a swimming pool. But we were all alive still in October 43, because from 1938 until September 43, we were allied to the Germans. And then all of a sudden, when the American, English, Canadian disembarked in Sicily in July 43, we switched position. Italy switched position without even telling the Germans, and we become allied to the Allied. At that point, Hitler is very angry and he decides to occupy Rome. Now, a city under occupation, it's not fun, but Rome was kind of different. Why? Because there was the Pope, and the Pope was so afraid they could bomb the city of Rome and destroy any small church. That would be a terrible loss. And so he decided to get an agreement with the Nazi, and guess what? The agreement was respected and declared Rome an open city, Roma città aperta. And therefore, Rome was never bombed by the Nazi. Imagine, it was bombed by the Americans by accident, but not by the Nazi. Maybe the Pope had to offer something in change. Maybe his priority were not the citizens of Rome, neither the Jews and only the buildings. Well, that's actually what happened. In September 43, the head of the Gestapo asked to the Jewish community to collect in less than 36 hours, 50 kilos of gold. It's a huge amount of money in a time where people are killing each other for a spoon of sugar. And still, the Jews of Rome managed to collect this huge amount, and not because they were wealthy, but because a lot of non-Jewish people come to this area to give their contribute. So we gave the gold to the Nazi, and 2 weeks later, the Nazi parked their trucks there and in the square that I showed you before. And at 5:15 in the morning on a Shabbat, they start knocking on the doors of the Jews living here and in other 26 areas of Rome. They have a list that they took from the archives of the Jewish community or from the registration office, because we had to be declared of Jewish race. And so Mussolini had a list of all the members of Italy of Jewish race. So they came at 5:15 and they gave us an Italian text written in Italian that said that they had 20 minutes to gather, that they had to prepare a suitcase with food for 8 days, that they're allowed to bring money, allowed to bring jewels, and warmly suggested to close their homes with the keys and take the keys with them. So when they're back, all is going to be as they left it. And these are very humble and very simple people who do whatever they're told, because for 3 centuries they were the citizens of the Pope, and they had just paid 50 kilos of gold, and this is the city of the Pope and nobody will touch us. And so they just go. And 2 days later, 1,200 Roman Jews are taken to Auschwitz, and only 16 came back. During the 9 months of the Nazi occupation, when the Nazis saw that Italians were not collaborating so much and for free hunting the Jews, they had to introduce a reward. So you could get paid 5,000 lira for a Jewish man, 3,000 for a woman, and 1,000 for a child. And so people started selling Jews. And my great-grandmother, unfortunately, was sold by a fascist policeman. She was 55, and she was arrested the 9th of May, 1944, which is 20 days before the liberation of Rome. Imagine that she only costed the Nazi 400 liras because she was considered an old lady and because it was the end of the war. And so she costed 400 liras. She died in Auschwitz and she didn't come back. But at the end of the war, my grandfather managed to arrest the man who sold his mother, and he went to jail. And so all the family was kind of at least relieved from the fact that the criminal was taken. But then there was an amnesty and everybody was released. And so the police, the Italian police, had the chutzpah to call my grandfather and ask him to come to the police station because they needed to discuss issues about his mother. And so he runs to the police station because he thinks they got news about his mother, because you see, survivors took a long time to come back. And when he reached the police station, they say, "We need to ask you a favor. Do you remember the man who sold your mother?" And he said, "Yes, of course. He's in jail. He's going to be here forever." "Well, you should know there is an amnesty. He's going out. And that's why we called you, because we need your forgiveness, or he cannot get a job back. And he's got small children, and the war is over and your mother is gone, and let's look at the future. And so they are asking my grandfather to give another chance to the man who has sold his mother for 400 liras. And so my grandfather didn't sign the agreement. But the answer to all those who wanted to wipe this community out is this community today. I'll pretend I'm not showing the school and the families picking up the children, but I am. And this is because I want you to feel the flavor of the revenge, of the justice. At least we got it on our own by making multiple children in the last 40 years. Oh, for sure, we make much more children than the Italians, but that's really easy. Abello, say hello to my friends in South Beach. No, South Florida. Shall we go to South Florida?
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. You can see that most of the restaurants here sell Roman Jewish cuisine, which is the authentic Roman cuisine, because most of the people don't know, but since we have been here for 2000 years, when you're eating Roman food, you're actually eating Jewish food. And when you're speaking Roman slang, when you're speaking, a friend of mine is making me smile. Shut up. Stupidi. Adesso vengo là. Adesso parlate. No, now you have to unmute yourself because they think I'm doing like the stupid, but I'm doing a Zoom. I'm doing a virtual tour on Zoom. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi.
Ma cosa sta Hi.
Say hi. These are parents pretending to have fun, but actually checking on the security of our children. There's a volunteer organization made of Jewish parents, because as you probably remember, we had a terrorist attack in 1982. And, you know, since then, we make sure that our children are protected by us and not just by the national police, who knows if we can trust. And here you go. That's the main street. Let me show you. That's where, remember where we started is at the end of the street where the ruins are. And that's it. That's the length of the ghetto for 9,000 people. It's from here to there, and from this line of building to the river, which is behind this block. You can see a little old people center with the flag of Israel. You might say what it has to do with it. Our relationship with Israel is very strong. And in the Jewish school, which is this building that I'm showing you, there's not only the Italian flag, but also the European flag and the Israeli flag, which it shouldn't be here, but we don't care. We want it here anyway. And that's the famous Jewish bakery, where the same family has been running the same business for the last 200 years. Don't ask for rugelach or sachertorte or weird things. They only have 4 or 5 recipes that they've been baking for the last 300 years. The best seller is this cheesecake with chocolate and cheesecake with cherries. When it will be our turn, I'll take you in so that you can have a chance to at least try to see if we can smell it. Now with COVID, we have to enter, we have to get you one. You can see that it's a very modest place. Doesn't need any name on the facade because everybody knows that this is a Jewish bakery run by the same families forever. And I'll show you with the help of my friend Gioia what is hot now and what you should get when you come to Rome. I think that this is the only place in the world that still bake and salt pumpkin seeds. And those donuts that you see down there are the same donuts that we have for Pesach. Non devo addaberare, ma dammi un minuto. And these are the pumpkin seeds that you generally eat salted while sitting on the bench. And this is the famous Brit pizza. The pizza that we make, it's a pizza, but it's a fruit cake that we make whenever we have a Brit Milà. And then Gioia, per favore, girami bene questa, che è meravigliosa. Wow, mamma mia, cheesecake. Look at the richness of this ricotta. I wish I could ship it to you, but I can't. And these are the cinnamon biscuits. Yes, Ami?
Our mouths are all watering, and I think we're all going to have Italian dinners tonight. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So if any of you have any questions, please type them in now. Just a quick one from me, if I may. You said that the population of Roman Jews is now 15,000. What was it at the time of the ghetto?
It was meant to host 3,000, but then the top of the population during the ghetto time was 9,000.
9,000, okay. And how about, you mentioned your children go to the Jewish day school.
Yes.
Are there many kids in secular schools, many of the Jewish kids, or most of them go to day schools?
I can show you my son, I just saw him. Isaac! Oh, aspettami che gliela faccio, eh. Ecco, Isaac, vieni. Tira fuori, saluta questi signori. Ciao.
Hello.
My name is...
Ciao. Hi.
My name is Isaac. Ecco, and here we go. Hanno chiesto se ci hai avuto un buon giorno a scuola oggi. Sì, he said yes.
Oh, yes. Good.
So the school is made for, grazie. The school is made for 900 children. It's a Jewish day school. It goes from kindergarten through high school. And about 80% of our kids go to the school. It's mixed boys and girls. It follows the Italian program, plus Dinin, Torah, Biblical Hebrew, Modern Hebrew, you know, the typical things that you learn in a Jewish day school. It's what gives you the identity. And it gets till high school. But then there's another son that I can. Gabriel, this is another son, but I can't. Vieni che ti fa. Sì, lo so, ma vi puoi venire a dare un bacetto? Potete uscire, vi aspetto io. I wanted to show you the second one. The third one is playing guitar. Sorry. Next tour, you'll get to meet him too. And I'm ready for Shidduchim, ladies. So if you ever want to think about having a family in Italy and spending 6 months a year in Italy, I need girls because I hardly have boys. So if we want to start planning something, I'm open to it. So this is my Bechor, my eldest one, Gabriel, but they're all busy with Pokemon. You know, now there's only Pokemon and there's nothing you can do. Hey, saluta.
Your children are beautiful. Beautiful children.
Grazie, non lo so. Va bene, va bene. Tell me if there are other questions.
Yes, I don't. How about intermarriage? Is there much intermarriage among the Jews?
Actually, I think it's a miracle because it's only 30%. Considering that California reached 75%, it's not a question of number of Jews. It's a question of how much you care and how much you feel it would be very hard to marry out because we are Orthodox. And so, oh my God, I did wrong to come here. Now he's following me because he wants money. And I have to run away. Amore, mamma sta lavorando. Andiamo. Ciao Gabriel, devi andare. I'm sorry, I did a huge mistake. But I'll
Children are the same everywhere.
Esatto. Gabriel, vai da Yo-Yo. Dov'è la mamma di Yo-Yo? Non ti preoccupare, prendi lui, io vado con lui e la mamma di Yo-Yo. Non posso lasciarlo qua finché non arriva. Isaac, vai. Isaac, ti prego.
Hala?
Yes, sorry.
Hala, we want to thank you so much. No, this tour was incredible. Thank you for your insight and expertise. And we want to thank all of you for joining us this morning. We hope that you've enjoyed this journey. Oh, thank you. And we hope to see you on our next tour. Please look in your email for additional meaningful ways to connect with our Federation and our Jewish community during these unprecedented times, including how to make a real difference for those who need us by contributing to our annual campaign. Together with our caring community, we thrive. Stay well, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today.